and welcome to another edition of Right on Rangers Live off-season mode. We're going to talk through a number of different topics today. Excited to be here with y'all. Most notably, non-tender deadline approaching this Friday. We shall see what happens. Might have to do a live on Friday night after the deadline passes. Big names, of course, associated with the non-tender deadline on the Rangers. Adolis, Garcia, and one Jonah Heim, who at this point, look, being real, I think are all but gone, according to reporting that's really been done since the end or towards the end of the 2025 regular season. I think the writing has been on the wall for some time, but reality beginning to set in. Rangers right now exploring trade options for both players. And I think we could say pretty safely there's probably a little bit of a bigger market for Adolis Garcia right now than there is Jonah Heim. No disrespect to Jonah. Of course, we love both players for all that they did for the Rangers in 2023. But I think we could say, objectively speaking, at this point, I really do not see a huge market for Jonah Heim unless you're just using him as a throw-in piece. I don't think there's a lot of people that are clamoring for Jonah's services based on the last 2 years. Clearly a guy that has talent, but let's be real about where he stood at the end of each of the past 2 seasons. A bottom 5 player in baseball offensively. And defense that really since 2023 has nearly fallen off a cliff. And it's sad to see. I like Jonah a lot, think he's a great guy, but I really do not see any way that either one of these players ends up surviving the Friday trade deadline. Appreciate all y'all hanging out. We will most certainly be taking a bunch of comments and questions along the way. Good to see you guys. Look, possibly, maybe we'll be back Friday night for the non-tender. Kind of depends on what happens. If there's a big trade, if the Rangers are able to get something for Adolis Garcia, that feels like live worthy to me. If they go quietly into the good night, non-tendered, released essentially, I don't know. We'll see how the mood is striking me on Friday night. By the way, for any of y'all that were wondering, Monday night, normally we would have done our Cowboys live, but I was actually at the game at Monday Night Football on Monday night. My brother-in-law and my brother-in-law's best friend blessed me with some amazing tickets. I went with my brother-in-law and his best friend as well. It was a blast. And look, not just because of the outcome of the game, which clearly I was pretty happy about. Cowboys won 33-16, but we had incredible seats. The stadium was packed. It was awesome. And the live just didn't quite work out. But I could not have been more thrilled with my experience. It's been a long time since I went to a regular season Cowboys game. Had a great time. It was awesome. So hopefully they keep the good vibes going. Defense looked a lot better, although it's the Raiders. We know. But we'll see how they fare against Philadelphia this weekend. More Cowboys later on, though. Let's talk Rangers. Let's go through the news. And, of course, if you're just joining us, what's up to you? Hope you're having a good week. We're just doing our normal off-season Wednesday Rangers show. Hoping that some things start heating up. It's kind of been tough. You see the Mariners, you see the Angels start wheeling and dealing, and you're kind of sitting around like, see why? Your move? Come on, man. Let's get going. Start heating up this offseason. You know, it's one of my biggest complaints with the baseball offseason. It's you just don't see enough action early on. And I do feel like you saw over the last week or so some major baseball media bigwigs, whatever you want to call them, talking heads, come out and kind of start talking about something that we've mentioned here on the show. I know last offseason we talked about this. The prospect of having some kind of offseason deadline. You have to have players signed by this date to create a little bit more urgency. I know the players union would probably never agree to that, but I don't know, man. It does bug me that we've got to wait until December, January for the MLB offseason to really get heated up. And what, it's been 3 weeks since the World Series, roughly, almost 3 weeks. and we have a very minimal amount of dominoes falling with free agents. I would just love to see the MLB offseason get back to how it was. I always bring up as the quintessential example, I always bring up Cliff Lee. I mean, Cliff Lee, when he got traded to the Rangers and the Rangers went on that epic run all the way to the World Series where sadly they lost to the Giants, Cliff Lee was a half-season rental. And Cliff Lee was re-signed. Not re-signed. He was signed by the Phillies, I think within a week of the World Series being over. I don't know if any of y'all can remember back to 2010, but back during that time in baseball, felt like there were a lot more quick moves after the World Series ended. Now you got to wait till the new year, it feels like, to have a lot of these moves really kicking off. I'd love to see them change it. Love to see them change it. I hope we can grab a big fish too, JJ. Absolutely. And Burns Express, good to see you, man. Thanks for the comment and for the follow, brother. I hope Astros and Rangers are next, man. We got the Mariners and we got the Angels making moves. I'd like to see us starting to join the party here. Don't do anything stupid, but it is frustrating watching your rivals start to make moves. And the Mariners, pretty big one. I mean, wasn't that just kind of a hook, line, and sinker, though, for Seattle? Like, Naylor had come out and he had essentially started kind of on comments in social media posts, kind of saying his goodbyes. And even Dipoto, I believe, was kind of giving an inclination that they were going to move on from Naylor. And then they go ahead and just sign him. Look, Mariners are going to be good for a while. We've talked about this. And you guys know I don't like saying these things out loud, but I do say them out loud. The facts are the facts. The Mariners are young. They've got a very talented pitching core, and they've got some good bats on the offensive side of the ball. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but getting Josh Naylor at a pretty good price. I don't think they overpaid for Josh. Mariners are going to be another force to be reckoned with this year, unfortunately. Unfortunately for us Rangers fans. And I know that they've got their constrictions, their constraints, I should say, with the budget. But I'd like to see a little pressure applied. I like it. I'm kind of here for it. No, I don't like watching Seattle get better, but I hope moves like this kind of kick CY and company in the butt a little bit. Let's go. We can't just sit back after 2 years of missing the playoffs. We really want to miss the playoffs for a third year in a row? I just cannot see that sitting well with anybody, even Ray Davis, who I know is a bit of a hot and cold item among Rangers fans. Like, with Davis bringing the budget down a little bit, I don't know how much the Rangers are going to be able to do or not do, but you'd like to see CY get creative and make something happen. Keep going. What was the deal? I think it was 4 or 5 years and $90 million. Rep that bets. I'm going to look it up right now for you, brother. I think it was 90 mil. That was the total. And I think it was 5 years. 5 years, 90 mil is what I believe. Definitely a 5-year deal. You guys let me know if you find it. 5 years, 92 and a half. 5 years, 92 and a half. I mean, look, he was projected between 90 and 100. So I think they actually got a pretty good deal. Don't you just love, though? I'm not trying to hate on the Pirates, but I think it was Ben Verlander, the brother of Justin, that came out and he was basically tweeting, the Pirates were in on Josh Naylor, $80 million. They're trying. It's like, bro, come on. If you're coming in $10 million below what the market value supposedly was for Josh Naylor, are you really trying? Like, if the Rangers offered Josh Naylor 5 years, $60 million, would anybody be saying, yeah, we tried? They were trying, bro. If you come in below market value, I'm sorry, you weren't really trying. Trying would be equal or above in my eyes. For me to give the Pirates credit for trying, or our own team, the Rangers, to give them credit for trying, I need market value or slightly higher. I'm not giving you credit for trying $10 million below market value. We keep going. We're talking about Josh Naylor, Tony, getting signed, brother. Mariners and Astros already made some sort of move. The Rangers need to get going. Sergio, who did the Astros make a move for? All I heard was Angels. They traded Taylor Ward, a guy that I would have loved to have been in Ranger red, white, and blue. I think you guys know before the trade deadline, Taylor Ward was my number one guy that I wanted to see the Rangers acquire. We needed right-handed bats and a little bit of outfield help with Evan Carter going down. I think that would have been nice to shore up the outfield a little bit. We could have had him DH. I know the Angels probably didn't want to trade in division, but I would have loved a guy like Taylor Ward. So look, if the Rangers can't have him, I'm glad that he at least got out of the division. Grayson Rodriguez, definitely a guy in return that the Angels are getting. I know he pitched in the playoff series back in 2023, didn't he? I'm pretty sure he faced us back in 2023 when we were in the playoffs against the Orioles on that World Series run. Looks like last year, Grayson Rodriguez, in terms of the numbers, went 13-4. So, I mean, look, he had a pretty good season. I mean, honestly, that was actually in 2024. My bad on that one. That was in 2024. Last year, did not pitch. Actually made his debut against Texas. There you go. I think I remember that, actually. 5 innings, 2 earned runs. Grayson Rodriguez against Texas. And by the way, this is a Texas guy. He was born in Houston. Looks like went to high school in Nacogdoches. All right. I mean, they're not getting a slouch. I mean, this guy has a career 4.11 ERA, so let's not go over the top with it. But I'm glad to see Taylor Ward leave the division. It feels like the Angels just got a lot worse offensively. Hey, Brian, what's good, brother? If the division gets better, so be it. I just want to see the Rangers are moving to be able to compete as well. I feel the same way. You know, I'm not burning up over any of the moves that have been made so far. Naylor getting re-signed by Seattle, good for them. And then, of course, Grayson Rodriguez being acquired by the Angels from the Orioles for Taylor Ward. No scorn per se, but I would love to see the Rangers keep up. Would love to see them get going in this process. All right, let's keep going. A's are going to be sneaky this year. Chris, I actually said, thanks for the comment, by the way, man. I actually said last year, I thought the A's were going to surprise some people. It didn't quite work out. They had some injuries. And look, they definitely, I think, underperformed a little bit. But the A's, they can beat some teams, man. They're one of those pesky teams that they have a losing record, but they are going to make you earn it. I do think you're on to something there. A's absolutely, I think, could surprise some people. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but I could see them being better than what people think. Maybe a team that flirts with 500 and just is kind of a thorn in your side throughout the season. Chris, I could agree with you on that for sure. Jonah for Adley. I don't think they're going to pull that deal off. Should the Rangers get Framber Valdez? I think the Rangers are going to be looking to shore up some starting pitching. If they go out and get Framber, I'm not going to hate it. I know that some Rangers fans don't want to see us go acquire former Astros, but I'm surely not going to hate a Framber Valdez signing. I mean, we could use a lefty of his caliber. We've got the 2-headed monster. I mean, maybe 3 if you include Jack Leiter. We'll stick to 2 for right now, Evo and DeGrom. You've got a great right-handed 2-headed monster. Now you throw in that lefty, that powerful lefty in Valdez. I like it. I don't think they're going to go after it. I think he might be a little bit overpriced, but I also think you might have to consider some of the locker room concerns. I think we actually talked about this. You know, remember back, what was it, in August or September? Valdez purposefully throwing at his catcher. All right. It was like a cross up, but Valdez actually was like not very repentant, wasn't very remorseful for it. Basically just hit his catcher because they weren't on the same page with a pitch from an earlier at bat where a home run was given up. Do you really want a guy like that in the locker room? I don't know. I don't know. Here's where I'm a little bit on board. Cripple King, funny you mention it because I'm just about to talk about Tyler. A lot of noise I've been hearing about Mahle potentially following Mike Maddox, former Rangers pitching coach, now the Angels pitching coach. A lot of talk about Tyler Mahle following. I don't see it. I think the Rangers have a legitimate shot to re-sign him. I mean, look, he's been here the past 2 years. I think the Rangers have faithfully stuck it out with him, even through injuries. I mean, look, if he really wants to go out to the West Coast, so be it. But I think the Rangers have a really good shot to re-sign him, and I think the Rangers should re-sign Tyler Mahle if they can. Now, we know Tyler Mahle is a California boy, Newport Beach. It would not be a shock if he decides to go back to California and follow the roots. I think nobody would really be surprised by that move. But at the same time, there is something to be said about having a comfortableness with an organization. There is something to be said, I think, with some players, loyalty, especially when you're sticking by the side of an injured player like the Rangers have. Tyler Mahle, look, for Texas, let's tally it up. Tyler Mahle for the Rangers has started 19 games, only 19 games in 2 years. You're talking about basically 9 starts a year you've gotten out of the Tyler Mahle 2-year deal. I'm not saying Tyler Mahle owes us anything. He can do whatever he wants. But I just think the people saying he's definitely gone, I think the Rangers are going to put a tempting offer out there for him. If he wants to go back home, he wants to go back home. But I would love to see the Rangers re-sign him if at all possible. Hey, Brian, what's good? I did see Sark's comments. I think that you would like to see a little bit more honesty. And we're going to talk college football. I think I might do a Friday live where we do non-tender deadline, and maybe I'll do a preview of the Longhorns game coming up as well. But, yeah, Sark, it's so tough, man. In college football, you got to play so much politics. You know, guys get butthurt and get in the portal. You got to be really careful not to chew people out. When you're winning, like Kirby Smart, you're winning. You can pretty much say whatever you want. When you're not winning, you kind of have to tread a little bit carefully, a little bit lightly. I'm not saying that's the right thing to do, Brian, but I think Sark is kind of walking a tight line. I did like the fact that he basically doubled down on that he's sticking around and not going to the NFL. Hopefully that happens. All right, more football later on. 44, what's good, man? Good to see you. Appreciate you. Should starting pitchers be a priority over the bullpen? I almost certainly think that is going to be the case. Hey, Jackson, what's good? Do I think the Rangers trade DeGrom, Chris? I would say no. Appreciate the follow. A bunch of y'all have followed. Thank you so much. Means a lot. I don't think the Rangers are going to prioritize the bullpen over starting pitching. I think the Rangers will sign a legitimate starting pitcher, and I think they're going to piecemeal the bullpen together through trades and value deals, just like they did last offseason. And honestly, it worked out okay. I think it actually worked out more than okay. You know, we talked about this. You've got guys like Hobie Milner that were overworked, man. They were worked to death. And that's why I think you saw Hobie fading a little bit. You saw a couple other guys having trouble at the end of the year. Our bullpen was overused last year. And if the offense wasn't a bottom 3 offense for most of the year, I think the bullpen is probably solid throughout the entire season. In September, you felt like the bullpen kind of melted down a little bit. And I think you can piece together why. They were used way too much because this offense could never get a big lead. It was always a tight game. Look, it made for an entertaining watch in a way. You were always kind of in a game. But of course, we did go through those spells where, you know, you're losing by 2 runs and you're like, yeah, I don't think the offense is going to come back from this 2-run deficit, which is sad. But that is how it was. And I do think that is a big reason why in September, mid to late, you saw some guys who had been really solid all year long starting to fade. So I think the Rangers will probably copycat what they did last year and even what they did in 2024, honestly. I mean, look, nobody saw David Robertson, Kirby Yates, that 1-2. Nobody saw that 8th and 9th inning tandem coming. And look, Kirby Yates, I said it at the end of 2024, love the guy, but you didn't want to re-sign Kirby Yates to a lucrative deal. What, a 1.20 ERA? The chances of him repeating that were slim to none. And he did not have a good year for the Dodgers. Feel bad for the guy. But I think what you caught both years, see why. He's proven it back-to-back years, 24 and 25, catching lightning in a bottle with some of these relievers on a discount, or maybe better to say at value. I see no reason why he goes away from the strategy. I know that's going to drive some of y'all nuts because you want to see him go after a big-time closer. I would be very shocked. Like, Rangers are in on Edwin Diaz, supposedly. I know some of y'all probably saw that report. Edwin Diaz, of course, Mets closer for several years now. I would be really surprised if the Rangers go out and get a big fish like that and spend a lot of money on a closer. I think there are just other bigger areas of need. I think you've got to fix the offense, and I do think you need another starting pitcher. I think the Rangers will look for their pro scouts to really do some deep dives on some guys this year in MLB that pitched in 2025, maybe under the radar, not household names, but you can get them at value and you can work with them a little bit, help them to improve in the areas where they're weak. I see them doing that again. Definitely interested to see what CY pulls off. Natalie, 100%. Appreciate the comment. Thank you so much. Good to see you. 44, I miss baseball already. Like, you guys know, I'm a big football guy. It's baseball and it's football very, very close behind. But I miss baseball already. I really do. What do I think about? No, I have not read about that at all, Pinto. Appreciate it, though. How much money do you think we invest at first base? Jeremy, I think that you probably are going to see the Rangers stick with Jake Burger. I would be very surprised if the Rangers go get a big-time first baseman. I think we talked about on the show last time, didn't we talk about Josh Bell? There was like some linkage to Josh Bell, of course, former Washington National, former Padre. I think he played for the Marlins too, didn't he? I think that the Rangers are going to ride it out with Berg, and maybe they go get a value first baseman. I don't think they're going to be signing Pete Alonso. I would love to be wrong, by the way. I would love to eat crow on that one. I just don't see it happening. I think that they are going to ride it out with Berger. Berger, of course, was with Skip Schumacher in Miami when Skip was coach of the year there. I think they're going to give Berger another shot. I really do. I know that's going to probably make some of y'all mad, but I have my doubts about Berger. I love Jake Berger. I think he's awesome. What a great dude. I mean, you want guys like Jake Berger on your team. You do. You want good guys like him. Just great for the locker room, great for the community. But I am going to be real. I did not love what I saw from Jake in 2025, and I know he dealt with some injuries. And I know that is possibly a big reason why you saw the numbers dip. Don't want to make an endless amount of excuses for all these guys. You've got to produce. This is a what have you done for me lately league, just like all pro sports leagues are. I think the Rangers probably give Berg another shot. I don't know how long the leash is, but that would be my bet here. 44, I'd love to see Pete Alonso too. I'm going to be very shocked if it actually happens, but I wouldn't mind it. I think, Natalie, didn't they say the budget is $200 million at this point? I think they did say the budget is $200 million. And look, the Rangers had I think we did the math, $50 to $60 million coming off the books. So yes, the budget's shrinking, but the Rangers have a lot of contracts potentially coming off the books this offseason, especially when you think about the Adolis, Garcia, Jonah, Heim. I mean, you're talking about close to $20 million right there in salary by shedding Heim and shedding Adolis. So you've got some money opening up. The Rangers have cash to spend, but how are they going to allocate it? And my prediction would be starting pitching. CY being the pitcher that he is, I think he is going to go out and get a legit starting pitcher, whether it's Valdez, whether it's Ranger Suarez. I think CY is going to prioritize pitching. And look, Evo and DeGrom, love them, but they're getting older. You have to make sure that you set this thing up well for the future. How many more great years are you going to get out of DeGrom and Evo? I don't think it's going to be crazy amount. I think maybe 2 years. I don't think 3 years is very likely. I think you got 2 more great years from Evo and DeGrom. I think that's when their contracts end, right? I think each of them has 2 years left. I think DeGrom's second year is like a club option type thing. I think you've got to leave it well for the future. Going out and getting a guy like Ranger Suarez, that sets you up for 5-6 years ahead. I think that he is going to prioritize the starting pitching. And then after that, you might see the offense. I think the bullpen is going to be last. I mean, and when I say last, I don't mean like they're not going to make any bullpen signings until the bitter end. But I just think in terms of money spent, the bullpen is probably going to be the last priority. Yeah, we're talking Rangers Eagle Run. We're talking Rangers right now. College teams, Longhorns. Longhorns. And look, I like a lot of the DFW teams. I like seeing TCU do well. I like seeing SMU do well. Even North Texas. It's kind of fun watching North Texas this year. Let's see what else. What else? Are they even trying to shop Peterson, or is that a waste of time? Yeah, I don't think they're shopping Peterson at all, Jeremy. I don't think there's a market for him. Brian, the Class A situation, it doesn't look good. Feds are not going to pop you if they don't have a decent amount of evidence. I was actually really surprised. I know it's innocent until proven guilty in the court of law. So I don't want to jump to crazy conclusions, but just based on experience, the feds are not popping you unless they got some evidence against you, man. I think over the course of history, you're not seeing them come out with these kind of accusations without a decent amount of evidence. I think Clase and the other guy, Ortiz, right? I think both of them are cooked, man. I do not see them ever pitching in professional baseball again. Keep going. Luis Ariz is cooking. I'm so pumped. Ethan, we'll see. We'll see, man. TLC from Detroit tonight. We're just talking Rangers, brother. We're talking about Adolis and Jonah Heim a little bit. We're just talking about a little bit of everything, man. Odds are DeGrom doesn't stay healthy next year. I mean, Jeremy, look, I'll knock on wood, brother. I'll knock on wood. But, yeah, I mean, look, it's tough. You got a perfect year of health from Jacob DeGrom. I know that they, skipped the start here and there, but you got 30 starts from DeGrom. Yeah, I mean, look, you're right, I think, from an odds perspective. I hope you're wrong, brother, but yeah. Like the chances of Evo and DeGrom both staying healthy all year, not amazing. We'll say that. Jeremy, it used to be right now, but it's really pushed into December. Didn't Ohtani with the Dodgers 2 years ago sign in early December? I think Ohtani signed in December. With Bryce Harper, when he signed his big deal with the Phillies, it was in the new year. It's one of my biggest complaints about the baseball offseason. Hey, my guy, what's good? Appreciate you hanging out. It's great to see you, brother. Locked. Let's go. Everyone has a long offseason. DeGrom should be rested. You make a good point. I do think that the offseason is going to be great for a lot of the older Rangers players. Look, Corey Seager, Marcus Semien, Evo, DeGrom, absolutely. Locke, do you think Adolis sticks around? I think Adolis is gone. I think Heim is gone. Yeah, Ethan, I think this is probably exactly what's going to happen. Ethan, appreciate you, brother. Adolis gets traded and Heim cut. Look, Adolis is, I think, $12 million this year. Do you really want to pay $12 million for Adolis? I know the Gold Glove defense is there. $12 million is not crazy, but it's a good chunk of change, man. And you're not seeing a lot of positive signs from Dolly. You know, he dealt with some injuries this year. You saw him go into some major slumps at times. The defense is there and will probably still be there, but I do think the Rangers got to move on. All right. Excited to get Nate Lowe back. Gary. That's right. I know some of y'all are Nate Lowe apologists like my good friend Gary. Like I think Nate Lowe, that ship has probably sailed. I mean, on one hand, you've got a righty first baseman in Jake Berger. You could add the lefty, but look, I think Jock Peterson is probably going to be your lefty first base option. I think that is most likely going to be what happens. By the way, 38 total spots right now on the Rangers 40-man roster. Let's look it over here. Let's see what we got going on. Any new additions or anything like that? I'll keep on rolling here. Luis, what's good, man? Luis, who are you talking about? Only guy that brings toughness? Sorry, brother. I got a couple of different things running, going back and forth. Have I heard anything about Cody Bradford? Rick, I'm pretty sure Cody's not going to be back till summertime, brother. JDM, yes, sir. Rangers are favorite team for sure. Absolutely, no question. Look, Rick, I think back in the summertime, he was going to have that brace surgery. Like, it's not the full Tommy John. Cody Bradford is just going to have that UCL brace that only puts you out for about 9-10 months until you can start throwing again. Well, I think it's actually closer to a year. It just kind of depends on the healing process. But, you know, when you get the full-blown Tommy John, it's usually like 14 or 15 months, right? I think he did the brace, which puts you more at about a year's time by the time you do like all the ramp ups and everything. So I think Cody will be back in the dog days, and that'll be nice. Hopefully he comes back and he's doing the same thing he was doing last year. Only out for 7 months. Okay. It does vary. It depends on the guy. It depends on the body, but I would love to see Cody Bradford back sooner. But look, let's do the math. I think that injury for Cody, I mean, I'll look at his profile right now, but I'm pretty sure that injury was in June, wasn't it? Like they ramped him back up, and it just wasn't going well. He got like sick. He was like ramping up. He got sick, and then all of a sudden the elbow started hurting him. It was very wild how it all went down. But the transactions, he was placed on, let's see, transferred to the 60-day L April 8th. So, yeah, it might work out. It honestly might. We'll see. It very well might work out. They did activate him from the 60-day IL. I think it's a little bit, just formal, I should say, on November 6th. But I hope he's back sooner rather than later. Gary, yeah, we were talking about Malley. For sure. I think Malley is going to be a guy that they target. Is he going to want to go back home to California? Maybe. We'll see if they can lure him to stick around, but I think he will be a target that they absolutely go after. Whatever happened to Josh Sborz? Josh Sborz was really struggling with some velocity issues from everything that I was reading. I think he was throwing low 90s, was getting up to like 94. But you remember in the World Series run, Sborz was an upper 90s guy. I just don't think he's regained that velocity quite yet, which is concerning. And so I'm sure it's just so frustrating for the guy. I feel terrible for him, but I'm not sure of what Josh Sborz is up to this offseason besides probably resting up the arm and trying to get it ready to go for spring training. You guys let me know if you've heard anything more concrete. Prospect Times, if you're hanging out, what's good, man? Thanks for hanging. Appreciate you. Love your stuff, by the way. Go follow Prospect Times. Good stuff for sure. Good to see you, man. Feel like we shouldn't spend money on a starting pitcher with the guys we got. Garrett, I hear you, but this is CY we're talking about. I mean, this guy does not skimp out on starting pitching, right? I mean, this guy he doesn't skimp out on it. That's why we went and got Merrill Kelly. I mean, CY, the pitcher that he is, man, it's just always a priority, which, look, it hasn't worked out terribly. The Rangers offense, just honestly, it's got to change. And so I hope that they don't have the same concept, the same philosophy. I think you've got to go out and do something to improve the offense. But I would be shocked if the Rangers don't go out and get a fairly big name starting pitcher. Thoughts on JD's interview with Heyman? Ryan, I'm actually glad you brought this up, and I'm going to try my best to get to comments, y'all. Look, if I miss a comment, you know the drill. Repost. You know I'm not trying to duck anything, but it gets tough. We go off on different tangents, so forgive me. Please repost the comment if you really would like me to get to something. I'm going to do my best to get to it. Look, a lot of people, I think, misunderstand the Daniels situation, the John Daniels situation. Talking about the Rangers' former GM who took over in the early 2000s, 07, 08, helped get the Rangers, along with Nolan Ryan, to a World Series in back-to-back years. I think there is a strong argument for John Daniels as one of, if not the prime architect of the 2023 World Series championship. Yes, CY was leading the bus. He was driving the bus at the time of the championship. But here's what we do know. John Daniels drafted Josh Young. He drafted Evan Carter. Two guys that were very instrumental in the World Series championship. We also know that John Daniels acquired Jonah Heim and Adolis Garcia, the two guys that we're talking about today, possibly being non-tendered. Those two guys were very instrumental in 2023. Jonah Heim in 2023, Gold Glove winner, All-Star Game starter. We're putting some respect on his name. And Adolis Garcia, we don't have to say anything else when it comes to 2023. We also know that John Daniels was over CY in baseball operations when Corey Seager and Marcus Semien were both signed. There's a very strong argument for John Daniels as prime architect of the 2023 World Series. Look, do I think that it was Daniels' time to leave? Yes, I do. I think that it was the right time. A new voice was needed, and it all worked out how it should. What I'm more talking about is I do think that Daniels is a little underappreciated in Rangers circles. Maybe not in this one, but I do see a lot of people giving John Daniels a hard time. I actually commented on the Haymaker video that they put out on TikTok, and I think it got some likes. Fortunately, I'm glad I'm not alone. I'm not saying that John Daniels should still be the guy right now, but it's just a little tough. I look back and I see a lot of people have this negative frame for Daniels, and I just don't get it. The guy, I think, is very instrumental with us having 3 World Series appearances and a World Series ring. I don't understand the people that have this negative image of him, even to this day. I think, like I said, I know I've made the point a few times. I feel like he was the prime architect of that World Series. Yes, Bochy. Yes, CY were driving the bus at the time of the championship. No doubt they deserve a ton of credit, not taking it away from them. But let's not pretend like John Daniels did not have a tremendous impact on that 2023 team. Tremendous. For all the reasons that I already named and more. So there's my John Daniels take. There's my JD take. JD, I think it was his time to go. I think it was his time to leave. I think a new voice was needed up at the top, and CY was that voice. But I'm glad, and 44, I'm glad you brought this up. You know, CY still gives him credit, and that is the right thing to do, absolutely. Big JD fan, Ethan. Yeah, I mean, I cannot say that at the time of the firing that I was overjoyed, but I did remember thinking to myself, man, I'm thankful for what we got out of the John Daniels era with him as GM and president of baseball ops. But it did feel like a new voice was needed. I didn't know about that either. Brian's bringing up the MY stuff. I did not know about the Michael Young, John Daniels stuff. But honestly, look, bringing in Beltre was one thing. But Brian, wasn't the bigger part of that John Daniels interview the fact that he traded Michael Young and really didn't talk a lot about it? I think I caught that. I watched most of the interview. I thought that was kind of the bigger topic, right? That he traded Mike Young, and that wasn't really a big point of emphasis or conversation. Maybe I'm getting that wrong. I was watching it at work the other day. But it is kind of weird. I do think Daniels was a very, very young GM at that time. And, when you're young, man, you don't have as much wisdom. And clearly 10 plus years later, bro has a totally different outlook on life. I mean, that's what life and years on this earth will do for you. But I think it was probably a little bit of like hot-headed GM. Just, man, I don't got to tell you. I'll make whatever move I want to make. I don't got to talk it through with you. MY doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You're a Rangers legend. I'm about to do what I want to do. I think it was probably a little bit of hubris, a little bit of ego. And look, you kind of have to have that a little bit when you're in the position that John Daniels is in. You don't want to get walked over by anybody. That's for sure. But I kind of agree that it's like, you got to talk it through with the captain. You got to talk it through. And my thing is, would MY have been against bringing in Adrian Beltre? Man, I don't know. I mean, look, I'm just putting myself in MY's shoes. Like, yes, I know I'm going to have to move positions, but you're trying to bring in an all-star caliber Hall of Fame potential at the time. Of course, AB Hall of Famer. We all know the history. We all know this rest of the story, I should say. Why would MY have been upset about that? They're like, dude, thank you. Thank you for going out and getting a guy that's going to be a Hall of Famer one day. But Ethan, I think you're right. And I think that goes back to what I said. Young GM, you're trying not to show any weakness. You're trying to kind of assert your authority. You're young. You don't have all the years of wisdom that you do now. And I think in hindsight, he looks back and he would have done it differently. What do I think about the Rangers potentially signing Valdez? Wouldn't be bad. Wouldn't be bad at all. I mean, I would not mind getting Valdez, but I surely don't want to overpay for him. I forget what else was on the table for Adrian Beltre back in 2011. I forget. I think you might be onto something there, 44. I thought it was another West Coast team, whether it was the Dodgers or the Angels, but I don't know. JD offered Michael Young the manager job, but Young said he isn't ready yet. So after Skip, I could see it 4 to 10 years from now. That would be cool. MY in the dugout. That would be cool. Ethan, thank you. I knew it was a West Coast team. I was like, I know Beltre played for the Dodgers, so I was like, were the Dodgers trying to get him back? But Angels make sense. 100% I wish that Beltre and Elvis could have got a ring. I'm glad, 2023, a lot of the guys from 2010 were around helping out with the organization in some way, shape, or form. But I agree, as a player, it would have been nice. Did they trade Garcia? Not quite yet, but I think they're trying. El Toro, we'll see what happens if he's still hanging out. Bats, saw run. That's what I'd like to see. Richard, Mavs are playing right now. Looks like they're up 11-6 on the Knicks. Yeah, I would really, really like to see the Rangers prioritize bats. I got to be honest with you guys. I think it's going to be starting pitching. I'd love to see the bats get prioritized. I don't want to watch another year, a third year in a row of this offense being bad. Bad, man. Is Kinsler still in the Rangers organization? I'm pretty sure he is. I'm pretty sure that he is still in like some kind of advisory role. Looks like he is special assistant to the general manager. We'll look at the staff directory right now, but yeah, special assistant to the GM. I'm looking through the other names right now. Pudge is a special assistant. Let me see, what else do we got? It's a long list, y'all. Jeez, I didn't realize how long it is. Yeah, Ian Kinsler, Darren Oliver, a special assistant to the GM. Mike Young is a special assistant to the GM. Yeah, a lot of former Rangers in the mix. It's good to see. I love it. Big fan of that. Okay, cool. I think that's it for now, unless I'm missing out. Of course, Dave Murphy. We know Dave Murphy in the booth right now, and Elvis a part of that as well. Good stuff. Can we re-sign Neftali Feliz? He's available. That's right. Jankowski is a coach now. Absolutely. Can't forget about El Blondie. 2011 team should have won it all. I hurt for the 2011 team. Those of you that followed me for a while, I don't need to get on my soapbox about 2011. I mean, look, it's not even the Nelly Cruz thing that pisses me off the most about 2011. You guys know it's Hambone. Hambone and the 2-run bomb he hit should have been the most legendary moment in Rangers history. And, unless you're a Rangers fan, you don't even really remember it. I mean, I remember it clear as day. I mean, that should have been one of the most legendary moments in baseball history. That Hamilton 2-run bomb just completing the entire comeback story for Josh Hamilton. Wasn't meant to be. It is criminal. I do hope we get some good players in free agency as well. El Bombi, Heim, that guy's $20 million in salary. I don't think Heim and Adolis are worth the $20 million. I don't. Antonio, same. I try not to think about it. Good to see you, brother. Also had a Nomar Mazara package deal for Chris Sale that he balked on and shouldn't have. Wow. I hadn't heard about that one. I'm going to have to look that up, Ethan, if I can find anything on it. Preferred free agency targets. I mean, look, just Christmas wish list style. I mean, preferred free agency targets. I'd love to get Kyle Schwarber and JT Realmuto. I'd love those two. I know, Ethan, I know you're big on Luis Arraez. Give me JT Realmuto. Give me Kyle Schwarber and re-sign Tyler Mahle. Piecemeal together the bullpen. Yeah, for me, I'm all right with it. What's the Dubon trade? Did that just go? Astros trade Dubon. Did that just break? Let's see. Profar for Stant. Remember that one? Wowza. Some of you guys are taking me back. Let's see. Braves retain closer Iglesias for Nick Allen. Okay, then. Wow. Allen's 27. Finalist for the Gold Glove at shortstop. Dubon, 31-year-old utility player, won Gold Gloves in 23 and 25. Interesting trade. I'm trying to kind of make sense for it in my mind. Interesting trade. You're just basically trading Gold Glovers, and Dubon is maybe a little bit more versatile. I would love to hear the analysis. I follow a couple of Astros beat writers and stuff like that. Just obviously you want to keep up with what all the other teams are doing and talking about. I would love to see the Astros beat writers' reaction to this one. I don't really know. Maybe it's a money thing. Maybe they're saving some money. Who knows? DeGrom for Adley Rutschman and Rangers save money to spend big in free agency. I don't think they're trading DeGrom. It's CY we're talking about, man. I just do not see him throwing in the towel on pitching. I mean, Ethan, it's interesting. I'm not saying it's crazy, but I cannot see CY giving up on the pitching. DeGrom, Young, Adolis, Heim for Skeens. Now we're talking. Now we're cooking, Antonio. Yes, sir. Can we get Paul Skeens? That'd be fun. That would be a lot of fun. Profar was a huge trade chip back in the day. Absolutely huge. What's my opinion on the 2015 run? I always felt we had the team that year. Look, 2015, was that the Cole Hamels year? I'm pretty sure, right? That was the year we acquired him. Yes? Yeah, that's right. That year to me, that was the melt in Toronto. Yes? Or Toronto, sorry, you don't pronounce the second T. Toronto. Yeah, that team did feel poised to at least make some noise. In 2015, when we got Hamels, I can't say I felt like that team was going to win the World Series, if I'm being totally real. But I do feel like that team was going to make some noise, and they had such a great start to that series in Toronto. and then not able to pull it out. We know the rest. We don't need to talk about that too much. But that 2015 team had some good talent on it. I mean, you look up and down the lineup. You had some good players. You really did. We'll pull up a box score right now. We'll kind of read off some of the names to you. But you had Chu on that team. You had Prince Fielder. You had Joey Gallo kind of up and coming. You had Beltre. You had Moreland. You had Elvis in his prime. You had Rudnet Odor at that point, having a really good season. He was hitting, I think, 261, 260s that year. Yeah, there were some pieces that year for sure. They were set, I think, to make a little noise in that playoff run. Just was not meant to be. Rudnet Odor, baby. The contract with Rudnet Odor and the horses, it always makes me laugh. The Blue Jays years, Brian. I hate that we have to refer to it like that to remember it, but that is accurate. The Blue Jays years, 2015, 2016. Let me see. EBL, appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Everybody's welcome. You guys know I love talking ball with just about anybody. So EBL, appreciate it, man. Thank you for the kind words. The Dodgers, did I read that the Dodgers inquired about Adolis? Ethan, is that right? Dodgers inquired about him? Is that what I saw? Thought I got a notification that said as much. Man, we'll see. I don't know. I am very curious whether Adolis Garcia is going to get dealt or just straight up non-tendered. Marte to the Rangers would be nice. I don't think the Rangers are going to want to give up a whole lot of prospects. Rangers have one prospect in the top 100. And I looked, and there's not even any of the guys they traded. Drake, Bratt, Hageman. None of those guys who they traded for Merrill Kelly are in the top 100 either. So the Rangers, they are not going to be trading big-time prospects. I don't think so. Although, on the other hand, if you really are committed to win now mode, with DeGrom and Evo being at where they're at in their careers, Corey Seager as well, prospects shouldn't necessarily be your biggest focus, but only having one prospect in the top 100, a little embarrassing, man. I'm not going to lie. I think they have to do a better job developing some late round talent. Look, they've done it. Like Cody Freeman's a good example. I mean, he's not really late round. I think he was a fourth rounder. They've got to do a better job bringing up some of that talent. I think they've got some talented players. So this isn't any shade at players in the Rangers organization. I think they've got some talented players in the minors, maybe just not getting their due. But I do think, if we're just being real, you'd like to see more than just one guy in that top 100. You trade Walcott for Tatis Jr. Ethan, of course. Like, I don't think Walcott's untouchable, but let me put it to you this way. I do not want to trade Sebastian Walcott for a half-season rental or for a one-year rental. I mean, if I'm trading Walcott, I'm trading for a guy that has years left on his contract. JJ restocking the farm, I think, is going to be a priority, but again, it's hard if you're in win now mode, which supposedly the Rangers are, with keeping around DeGrom, Evo, Seager, Simeon, all these guys. I think you might have to be willing to deal a guy like Walcott for the right player. We'll see. Antonio, is he going to be given a shot? I know he'll be at spring training, but I got to be honest. I don't know if Abimelec Ortiz is money in the bank to get a lot of playing time this year. I think a lot of it's going to depend on Jake Berger. If Jake Berger really bounces back this year, I don't know that Ortiz sees a ton of time. I think Ortiz is going to run into some of the issues that, guys like, some of the up and comers, right? You think about some of the rookies that came up and really just didn't get their shot, didn't get their full shot. You think about guys like Dustin Harris. You think about Osuna. I know Dustin Harris isn't with the Rangers organization anymore, but you think about Alejandro Osuna, man. He never really got his fair shake. And I see Ortiz being in a similar boat. Will he get some major league at-bats? Sure. Are they going to give Ortiz this long leash to play? I have my doubts. And look, Antonio, I'm not by any means throwing shade at Ortiz. I just think with what the Rangers have done philosophically with some of these guys in the minor leagues, maybe it was just a Bruce Bochy thing. I have my doubts whether or not Ortiz is really going to get a long runway to prove himself. Ethan, if we could get Marte or Tatis, I would love it. But is Tatis for sale? Am I reading they're shopping him, or are we just saying, hey, we'll take him for a guy, we'll trade him for a guy like that? But yeah, Fernando Tatis is a great player. I would be willing to part with a top prospect for a guy like him. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. He is for sale. I would be willing to part with a guy like Walcott, who is not proven but could be a very, very good player. I think if you can get an all-star like Tatis, you go for it. Taylor, I don't think the Nathaniel Lowe reunion is going to be happening. I think the Rangers have enough first base options already. You've already got Jock Peterson, who can play a little first base. He did a lot of first base work last year. I'm sure he's doing more this year. I think the Rangers are going to be good with first base. I doubt they go get Alonso or anybody like that. I know some of y'all want to take a chance on Nate Lowe. I know it. I just don't see it happening. AJ, I don't think they're going to sign a closer. I know Edwin Diaz has been a guy that has been thrown around, but I don't see the Rangers going to sign a closer, y'all. I'm not saying they shouldn't. Don't take this the wrong way. I just think they've kind of shown the cards. I think CY likes going with value in the bullpen. Hobie Milner. You think about Webb. You think about Sean Armstrong. You think about guys like that. And I just think that we're going to be doing the same thing. Wheeling and dealing, piecemealing, and getting value for some of the free agents out there that we can get affordably. Maybe guys that showed some promise, but maybe the numbers weren't quite there. We make a couple tweaks, and suddenly we've got a sub-3 ERA guy. It's kind of been the recipe. So for me, I do not think that the Rangers go get a big-time closer. Ed, I don't think Pete Alonso's coming to Texas. Appreciate you, man. Good to see you. I don't think he's coming. I think he's a little too expensive. And I think the Rangers roll with what they got already, Jake Berger, and they've got some other first base options. We know Josh Smith can play first base. We know Jock Peterson can play a little first base. So I think they probably are going to pass on Pete. Mitch Garver or JT, I'd love JT. I think that ship has sailed, although I love Garv Sauce. I would much rather have JT Realmuto. Sergio, I'm not saying no to Kirby Yates. You could potentially get Kirby on a nice bounce back deal, but I mean, you can't go for feel good, right? We don't need any feel good stories. We need guys that are going to produce. If you really feel confident that Kirby Yates just had a really bad one-off season and you can bring him back on a good team-friendly deal and fix whatever was wrong with him in 2025, okay? But there's no feel-good stories. You have got to find a way to make it back to the playoffs, right? So, I mean, these guys like Nate Lowe, Kirby Yates, Garver, guys that we love from 2023 or from 2024 in the case of Kirby Yates, but are they really going to be legitimate options to help us get back to October? If the answer is no, I got to put nostalgia aside. And I want to make sure that we are using strategies that are going to get us playing baseball past September. And yeah, there is that. Yates is 39. Antonio does hate Luis Ariz. This much we know. That is for sure. Luis Ariz, another Miami guy that's got some ties to Skip Schumacher. So Ethan, could happen, brother. Could happen. Worst Rangers trade in history. I mean, look, I know that maybe this is going to be slightly controversial. Actually, no, I can't even say that. I think the Ryan Dempster trade was pretty bad. The Ryan Dempster trade was bad. Even the Garza trade was pretty bad. I know some people bring up the Fielder trade. That was what I was going to mention first, but I like Prince Fielder. I feel like that was just bad luck what happened with the neck. I think the Fielder for Kinsler trade in a perfect world, that was a great trade, I think. I know that it didn't work out great with the injuries, and Kinsler, obviously, a fan favorite that went on to have a lot of success in Detroit and then went on to win a ring in Boston. I mean, I love Kins, but had Prince Fielder stayed healthy, that actually, I think, would have been a pretty good trade for Texas. Now, with that being said, which trade was it? The Garza trade or the Dempster trade where we gave up Kyle Hendricks? Which one was it? I get it confused sometimes. Neither trade really worked out great, although Matt Garza felt like a bit of a dog to me. I wish that Garza could have worked out a little bit better, but let's see. Kyle Hendricks, Texas trade. Let's see. Yeah, the Kyle Hendricks was the Dempster trade. Or Dumpster, as my dad would refer to him as. Ryan Dumpster. That is kind of what it was. I mean, look, no disrespect to Ryan Dempster, but it was a bit of a dumpster fire when we got him over to Texas. Oh, yeah, the Dempster trade. Yep. Kinsler's another player at odds with JD. Yeah, I know. JD just, I think young GM JD just butted heads with people. I think 11 years, 12 years later, different place. But Garza, Brian, this is actually well said. Let's look at the Garza trade really quick. Matt Garza, Rangers trade. I agree. The comment was the Garza trade just felt like trading for the sake of trading. We traded Grimm and CJ Edwards, Mike Olt, and Neil Ramirez. So we really didn't give up like a ton. Like, I mean, none of these guys turned out to be like perennial all-stars, but at the end of the day, both the Garza trade and the Dempster trade were not great. Were not great. Is Josh Young, comment is, Bash, what's good? Is Josh Young a Ranger next year? I think that he will be. I'm going to say yes. You'd have to get a pretty great trade offer to trade Josh Young. I mean, look, a guy like, we're talking about Fernando Tatis. Fernando Tatis, if they need Josh Young to get that done, don't you think about getting it done? I think that you have got some options with Josh Young, but if you don't have a great deal in front of you, don't pull the trigger. It's the last thing. It would be so Rangers to trade Josh Young and then he goes and becomes a 25-100 guy. Like, or a 25-90 guy. That would be so Rangers, wouldn't it? Whew. Nelson Cruz ending was complicated for sure. Schwarbo would be great, Jose. I would love it. A-Rod for Soriano. Yeah, but what people don't get about that Soriano trade is that was to get out of that contract, bro. Right? And we talked about this with Marcus Semien. I know some people do point to that Soriano A-Rod trade as being like a bad trade, but you have to understand the Rangers were trying to get salary relief, right? They were trying to get A-Rod's contract off the books. It was a bit of an albatross. And so you actually had to give up a better player for a lesser player so the Yankees would take on that contract. So if you trade, like, for example, Marcus Semien, you'd have to do the same thing. If you trade Marcus Semien to get out of the contract, you're probably going to be taking lesser players in return because whoever you trade Marcus Semien to is going to be eating some of the money in that deal. The Lucroy trade, look, I remember acquiring all these players, but I just want to look at who the Rangers all gave up. Brewers trade, Lucroy and Jeffress. Jeremy Jeffress, man, he had some decent outings for Texas. He really did. Rangers sent Brinson, Luis Ortiz, and a player to be named later. Who was the player to be named later in that deal? Let me see if we can pull it up here. Joey Gallo was in. What? Joey Gallo. Hopefully we were never going to trade Joey Gallo at that time for Jonathan Lucroy. I don't know. At least in this MLB article, they're like, the Brewers didn't get Joey Gallo, Texas' #1 prospect. Oh, jeez. All right. I don't know. That Lucroy trade doesn't feel that bad. Appreciate all y'all. We turned down Cano on the A-Rod trade. That's painful. If that's, look, I don't know all the ins and outs. I'm learning more and more every day. But that's painful. For sure. A-Rod winded up winning 3 MVPs in a ring, and the Rangers didn't get anything out of Soriano. Again, you're going for getting out of the contract. We're not saying Soriano much better career than A-Rod. I just don't think you can always put things in a vacuum like that, my guy. Like, nobody is saying A-Rod worse player than Soriano. What we're saying, though, is to get out of the A-Rod contract, you had to accept a bit of a lesser player. And I think that is what ended up happening in that situation. Rangers were desperate to get out of that contract. A-Rod wanted out. And I think you ended up getting the deal that you could. A-Rod was just an attraction for the Rangers. They weren't going to win anything with so much money tied to him. Nope. Yeah, Rangers could have got Alfonso Soriano and Robinson Cano, but they took Luis Ariz. Yeah, that's painful. I'm reading about this right now. That hurts. That is the component of the trade you lock in on. Rangers could have had Robinson Cano. But hey, it paved the way for Rougned Odor. So it's all good, baby. It's all good. We got Rugi. It all worked out. Oh, man. Sergio, that's painful, though, is it not? Look, like I said, I know that I do this for a living. It's hard for me to remember every detail of some of these trades. I think I do remember the Robinson Cano stuff, but geez, that sucks. Worst thing ever in Rangers history was drugs, and you can't argue that. Well, Rangers having issues with drugs, I guess. That's an angle. We had, of course, the PEDs with A-Rod back in the early 2000s, although that was a little more prominent after he left. Teixeira was a really good trade, Pete. I agree with you on that one, brother. Teixeira was a great trade. Absolutely. That was an outstanding trade. The Joey Gallo trade was great. Joey Gallo trade where you got Josh Smith and you got Duran and you got some other players back. I think that was a good trade. Rangers traded Sammy Sosa for a bag of chips. Whew. Antonio, I'll take 3 to 4 prospects with one being MLB ready for Simeon, if I'm being honest. I don't know if the Rangers are shopping him or not. The Rangers offense, we talked about this, though. Brian, appreciate the comment, man. Rangers just didn't have pitching in those years. Soriano, Young, Teixeira, Blaylock, and others could hit. Definitely had offense. I'd rather the kind of losing that we suffered in the early 2000s than the kind of losing we suffered the last 2 years. Give me a team that can hit and make it fun over a team that can't hit worth a lick, but the pitching's really good. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Antonio, you're wrong for this, brother. But I'm not going to lie. That made me laugh. Saying that because of Josh Hamilton. Yeah, but Hayden, that was more in Tampa Bay. I mean, I know with Hambone, when he came here, I know he was like dipping a lot and he got into some other trouble too with alcohol. But the drugs for Hambone, I think a lot of that was in Tampa when he was up and coming in that system. JJ, I'm with you on that. Offense, please, 100%. Hey, y'all, we've been going a little over an hour. I am going to hop off for the night. Might go live on Friday night for the non-tender deadline. So you might see me pop on We might also do a little Texas Longhorns preview. Longhorns play the Arkansas Razorbacks this Saturday, leading up to the big matchup Lone Star Showdown against the Aggies next week, right after Thanksgiving. So we might be back. We'll for sure be live Saturday, and then we'll also be live on Sunday to talk Cowboys as well. Was a great Monday Night Football experience at Allegiant Stadium. I know some of y'all saw that I was there. It was a great time. I couldn't do my usual show. Was having a great time with my brother-in-law and a couple other buddies, but what an experience that was. It was a blast going to that game. Glad I got to see a good one, too. Glad it was a win. Hey, it was fun chatting, guys. Let's do it again next Wednesday, maybe on Friday, too. Like I said, we'll see what transpires with Adolis, Garcia, and Jonah Heim, but we'll be live a couple other times this week. Hope to see you there. Come hang out. Even if the Longhorns or Cowboys aren't your team, come talk some trash. Come say what's up. Y'all know I appreciate you. Abby, what's good? Thanks for hanging out. Good to see you. I will talk to y'all hopefully later this weekend. Hope you guys have a good rest of the week. It's always good talking Rangers baseball. One of my favorite things to do. Look, we know right on Rangers, it's Rangers first. Yeah, we cover the Cowboys, the Mavs, the Longhorns, but Rangers first always. Love our boys. Love our team. And it is hopefully looking up for us in 2026, man. Feels like that's the only place you can go after getting shut out of the playoffs back-to-back years. Let's hope. Fingers crossed on that one. All right, love y'all. Have a good night. And as I always say to end every show, God bless and go Rangers.